Now to our program. Phil, come on up. He's Director of PR for our Armed Forces Week, and he will do the honor of introducing a very esteemed speaker we have with us today.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to make a couple notes before I get started. One very quick one is that our color guard is from the Southeastern Oneida Tribal Color Guard, and they are Chippewa and Oneida Native Americans, and have served in the United States Navy, the United States Army, and the United States Marine Corps. So, I wanted you to be introduced to them. Also, I'm misnomerously said in the program that I'm Director of Armed Forces Week. I'm really just on the committee. Members of the Armed Forces Committee are seated over here at table 2, and the President of Armed Forces Week is Dr. John Buck, Dr. Tom Buck, who is seated in the middle of this table. Tom, maybe you'd like to stand up and just wave your hand. Thank you. For this program, this Armed Forces Week, we have the honor of presenting a unique speaker to our platform. We welcome Brigadier General Retired Joane Mathews, a proud member of the Lac du Flambeau Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, and the first female Native American general officer in the Army National Guard. Mathews' 36 military career has been filled with numerous milestones and firsts, including becoming the state's first non-medical female colonel, the first female commander of the 1st Battalion, 147th Regiment, and the Wisconsin Army National Guard's first female brigade commander when she assumed command of the 64th Troop Command Brigade. In June 2018, she was appointed as Wisconsin's Deputy Adjutant General for the Army, commanding over 7,400 troops. Brigadier General Mathews retired in May 2022, and after 36 years of service and nearly 3,000 flight hours, she assumed her current role as the Director of the Challenge Academy at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin in April. This is a highly complex program in which she educates and trains high school dropouts to achieve a high school equivalency diploma. Today, Brigadier General Retired Mathews will provide insights on how to advance as leader, encourage others as they navigate their lives and grow their careers, accomplish their dreams, and follow their hearts. Brigadier General Mathews and her family reside in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, and one member of her family is here with her today, Lindsay, who just graduated this last week with University of Wisconsin. And she's majored in psychology if anyone wants to see her after the program. So, without any further ado, Brigadier General Retired Mathews.
So good afternoon, everybody. If anybody's trying to do the math, serving 36 years in the military, I joined when I was 10. So good afternoon. I feel so humbled and honored to be a part of such a distinguished group of the Rotary Club. And I am so, it's just, words can't express how appreciative I am to have you, to have been invited here to speak with you as part of your meeting. I'd first like to begin by giving you a little bit of background about me to help you understand who I am and why I am the person you see standing here today. In order to do that, though, I want to introduce myself to you as I was taught by my elders to address people for the first time in my native language. Bonjour, Giwe no Kwe Indigenous Cause was Waganing and Dudjba, Gigo Dindudum. My name is Gwe no Kwe, or North Wind Woman. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, as mentioned, in a very small town called Lac du Flambeau on the Ojibwe Reservation. I'm a member of the Lac du Flambeau Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, and I am Fish Clan. I was taught that it's important to introduce myself in Ojibwe, sharing first my Ojibwe name, because that's how my ancestors taught me. That's how my ancestors know me. And by sharing my tribe and clan with all of you, because in our culture, there's nothing more important than family, community, and knowing where you come from. I take great pride in where I come from, and I'm honored to represent my tribe everywhere I go. My Ojibwe name, Giwe no Kwe, translates literally to North Wind Woman, but our spirit names are not meant to be a direct translation to English. They each have a story that reflects their true meaning. Now, when I was given my Indian name, the story was quite long, so I'm not going to share that story with you. But in essence, much like the North Wind, I was told that at a very young age, I lived my life pushing against the grain. I was told that I was strong-willed, I was hard-headed and stubborn. And, at a young age, being called stubborn or hard-headed, you didn't really like that. You felt it had some negative connotations. But it took me a while to fully accept my name. I thought being stubborn and hard-headed was a bad thing, right? But as I've grown to learn more about myself and my name, I've realized that it also means staying true to your word, not backing down in the face of injustice, and having the strength to push forward, even when things are hard. These are all things I have since adopted as a personal leadership mantra for myself. I've always wanted to be one to keep moving forward, to challenge myself to do things that weren't always comfortable or easy. I've never been content settling for what others believed I could or couldn't do. Growing up on the reservation was hard, but overall, I'm very grateful for my time there because it taught me so many great lessons that continue to serve me well all these years. It was there that I learned the value of culture, tradition, family, and hard work, all of which provided me with the strength to do what I do now. I was bullied a lot by other kids in grade school, and as you can see, I'm a little fair-skinned, my hair is a little lighter, so I was bullied for not looking native enough. And then when I went to high school, I was then bullied for being Native and hanging out with other Native kids. And I'm telling you this because this taught me at a very young age to not judge people by the color of their skin, the clothes they wear, who they hang out with, what they look like. People are unique in their own way. They have their own values, their own beliefs, their own opinions, and strengths. If we judge people prior to getting to know them, we may be missing out on an opportunity to learn from them or to get to know someone really amazing. This important lesson not only helps me as a human being, but also helps me as a leader. After I graduated high school, I immediately left my small town. I moved to the big city of Minneapolis. But after working for a few years there, I knew there was something bigger for me. So I left to pursue my goal of flying. I had always had an interest in flying. I remember watching the planes fly overhead when I was little, playing out in the yard. And I remember driving down to Chicago with my family. My dad would take me over to O'Hare, and we'd sit under the approach end of the runway and watching the airplanes take off and land. Of course, I don't think we can do that now, but it was such an amazing time for me, a great memory. And that's where I learned I really want to fly. I got such a thrill out of that. So I left and I enrolled in the University of North Dakota, where I began studying aviation administration. There, I received my pilot's ratings in both airplane and helicopter. As a sophomore at the University of North Dakota, I took an Army ROTC class. I needed an elective, but truth be told, I needed to boost my GPA. And I really was interested in ROTC, and I wanted to join the Air Force, but there was no Air Force at UND, so there was just Army. I guess it turned out okay for me. My dad and my relatives served in the Army, and I thought, why not? Let's give it a try. I'll see what the Army's like in ROTC. So ROTC did give me some easy A's, and helped me to help boost my GPA, which was very needed, by the way. I enjoyed it. I really did. I learned lessons about leadership, about service, and made great friends, many of whom I'm in contact with today. Anyway, after that semester ended, I was offered and received an ROTC scholarship. I was struggling to get by financially on grants and loans, so the Army paid for my tuition, my flying fees, my books, and it put $100 in my pocket. And back then, that was pretty good. That was a lot of money. My goal was to get a college degree. And if signing a 6-year contract was going to get me there, then so be it. I'll do it. I'll give it a try. Soon I was commissioned as an aviation officer on active duty and attending flight school. Even though I had already known how to fly, the Army in its infamous wisdom had me go through 9 months of flight school. So that 9 months was pretty easy for me. I'm aging myself here, but when I went to flight school in the mid to late 80s, when I was one of just a few women in flight school, I felt the need to prove myself, and it motivated me to succeed. I graduated from flight school, and because I had so many flight hours from my college years, I was asked and became a turnaround instructor pilot, or turnaround IP. My first leadership position was serving as a platoon commander or an instructor pilot in a platoon comprised of several Department of the Army civilians and warrant officers, all with thousands more hours than I and many, many years of experience. Feeling quite intimidated and unsure, I learned to rely on those much older and experienced pilots. I asked a lot of questions, and I didn't assume that just because I was their leader or their commander that I knew what was best. I sought out key subject matter experts who mentored me and helped me lead the platoon in a positive way. After I left, which at the time I felt was the best job in the Army, I was asked to attend a 6-week UH-60 Black Hawk transition course, followed by a UH-60 maintenance test pilot course. It was one of the toughest courses I've ever attended in the Army. It was 4 months long, and I had just learned how to fly the Black Hawk, and now they wanted me to learn how to maintain it and lead others who had maintained it. So again, very intimidating. My next leadership assignment was in Germany as an aviation maintenance platoon leader. Thrown into a position where I felt inexperienced and incapable of serving in this new role, I felt like I knew very little about aircraft maintenance. Never mind, I was still learning how to fly the Black Hawk, but now I had to maintain it. My first 2 leadership positions were not an anomaly in my career. Throughout my career, the military placed me in what I felt were uncomfortable positions, where I didn't feel as confident or sure as what to do or say. But the military placed me in these positions they felt I would succeed, based on my past performance and future potential. It was me who didn't feel as confident or as ready. I'm sure many of you can relate. When you're starting a new job, it is stressful. There are so many unknowns. So naturally, you're going to feel unsure. You're going to feel unsure about yourself, about the job, about your capabilities. And that's okay. I never really had a lot of self-confidence growing up, but being forced into these uncomfortable positions just made me work harder because I didn't want to fail. The more the difficult the job, the harder I worked, the more self-confidence I gained. And looking back, the positions I placed in developed me for those positions with increased responsibilities to continue to be trained and promoted to be the leader I am today. As I navigated my life, grew my career, and accomplished my dreams, I learned a lot. And I'd like to share some of those lessons in leadership in hope that I help you with your careers, in working with a team, or just life in general. My first lesson, no matter how old you are, how experienced you are, ask for advice. As mentioned, I served 36 years in the military, finished that career, and started a new one a year ago as a director of a challenge academy. I was, again, in an uncomfortable position, being in a teaching role. Basically, I'm the principal. And I didn't know a lot. There was people that were serving there for 20 years, and I just come in and I'm their boss. So what did I do? I asked for advice, and I have a confidant. I think it's really important to have a confidant when you get to a new role, and also be a good communicator. It's important to have someone you can reach out to bounce ideas off, concerns, or issues with, someone you can rely on to help you along the way. You're not going to know it all, and for sure, don't act like the smartest person in the room, because I can guarantee you're not. I was fortunate to have my husband, my confidant, who not only was a fellow soldier, but an enlisted soldier. Having my husband and my confidant provided me with someone I was close with, who I could not only talk to, but who could also share that very important enlisted perspective. Having that different perspective or perception, that different viewpoint or opinion is always important, not only for your own self-learning, but helpful for your organization, your team, or your club. And as a Rotary Club member, Rotary's strength is in its diversity of culture, experience, and perspective, so all you can understand what I'm talking about here. You come from all walks of life, and when sharing our own experiences, our thoughts, and ideas collectively, we make a better team. In the Army, not only did my soldiers teach me early on about their specialties, which was aircraft maintenance, but they taught me how to be a better leader. I listened to them, got my hands dirty alongside of them, so I could learn from them. And mostly, I respected them. The lesson carried me throughout my entire life, my entire career. As I mentioned early on, we cannot nor should not judge people by who they are on the outside. I don't judge people by their rank, especially in the National Guard or in the reserves, because a private, a specialist, or a captain, lieutenant, just a very few years of experience in the military, they might have tons of experience in the civilian world and be a subject matter expert in whatever field that they're in. So we need to be cognizant that no single person can possibly know everything about everything. So number one, ask for advice, have a confidant, and learn and listen to your employees or the folks around you. My second lesson is be approachable. We learn from our good leaders and our not so good leaders, and I'm sure we've had some where we felt uncomfortable coming forward and saying something. As a leader, I feel it is critical to have a good relationship with your employees where they feel comfortable coming to talk to you, to share or ask about a problem they have or issues, concerns they have. And if and when they do, listen to them. Ask them questions. And most importantly, encourage them to come to you with a recommended solution and several courses of action. Involve them with coming up with a solution. Why? Because not only do they know more about the issue than you do, but that allows them to think thoroughly and creatively and potentially solve the problem themselves. And involving them in the problem solving also makes them feel included, where they will then have a stake in whatever the outcome turns out to be. This can only happen, though, when everyone feels comfortable to speak freely, to offer suggestions, to know their ideas or thoughts will be respected and not shot down. We need that creative diversity of thought to improve in any organization, team, or group. Bringing their ideas and our solutions to the table helps instill a sense of ownership. And being approachable is important, but I feel it's also important to trust and empower our people to take the initiative and accomplish whatever the task or project, even if it ultimately looks a bit different than the way we might have done it ourselves. As a leader, we must set those sorts of conditions and should build a climate on trust that rewards initiative, ingenuity, and out of the box thinking. And speaking of trust, my third lesson is when talking to people, speak from the heart. People know when you're being honest and sincere, showing care and concern. And people can also see right through you when you're not. In my opinion, speaking from the heart creates that trust. Trust is difficult to gain, but very easy to lose. And speaking from the heart and meaning it, as well as following through with what you say, will build that trust. My fourth lesson is to get to know the people you're working with. And as a boss, know your employees. Learn their goals, learn their aspirations, what their passions are, and why they do what they do. It's also important to know a little bit about their personal lives if they're willing to share. To learn about their families. Do they have any pets? What are their hobbies? In the military, we always say families are extremely important because if we wouldn't have the family support, we wouldn't be able to accomplish the missions that we do. So we're very, very grateful for our families. In my current role at the Challenge Academy, I carry that through and make sure that my employees know that I care about their families because no matter where you are, if it's in a club or if it's in your job, it's going to take you away from your families. It's going to take during the evening meetings that you might have or the weekends, you're going to be away from your families. So make sure you take time to thank those families. It would really appreciate it. It definitely goes a long way. Now I can go on and about lessons learned throughout my career. Those lessons learned, I learned from my subordinates, my peers, and my superiors. As mentioned, we learn from those characteristics we want to emulate and those we don't. The Army had 7 core values, and the one I feel impacted me the most about how to be a good leader or a good person is the value of respect. If we respect each other, treat each other with dignity, care about everyone as humans, treat others the way you want to be treated, our organization will be better, and at a larger level, our world will be a better place. I hope what I shared was something worthwhile and usable. There's no magic formula that creates a great leader. What I've learned over the years is leadership is something we need to constantly work on, to take the time to cultivate. We all make mistakes in life, and we need to remember that failure is an opportunity for growth. All these lessons of leadership have been honed by my family, my community, my education, my confidants, fellow soldiers, and my years of service in the military. I'm constantly reevaluating what my leadership style should look like and how to make requisite improvements. My time in the military has provided me with multiple opportunities for growth, and even today I'm constantly learning something new. Again, I want to sincerely thank you for the time this afternoon, but most importantly, I want to thank you for being a part of the Rotary Club. To be honest, I really didn't know a lot about the Rotary Club, so I did some Google search before I got here, and I was just amazed by all the different things you do for the community, and it's worldwide. That's something I just learned. It's just amazing. I look forward to learning more about this club. Thank you so much for your time. Miigwech. I'm inviting the Brigadier General back up in case there's any questions in the last few minutes that we have for her. I see a few folks making their way. So any questions for the Brigadier General? And any difficult ones, I'll pass them over to Lindsay. She's a new graduate.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate the fact that you gave your presentation not through the lens of either your gender or your ethnicity, yet you also had a lot of firsts in your introduction, and I'm wondering about your thoughts on any sense of extra responsibility that you carry for being the first woman Native American to reach so many goals.
A lot of people ask me what it's like to be the first, this and that, and I really never thought about that. And it was nothing that really I set a goal to do. It just happened. I really enjoyed what I was doing, and as in the Guard, as positions opened up, I was very fortunate enough to have been provided those opportunities for increased promotion. So, I mean, I really don't look at myself as a first this or that. I feel just very honored and blessed to have the career that I've had, and really enjoy the heck out of it. In the military, as an officer, you don't sign contracts. You just continue serving until either the Army says you're done, or you continue serving until you retire. So I just was lucky enough to just keep moving on, moving up, and enjoying what I was doing. And I really didn't. I tried to be a really good role model to all the younger soldiers. I tried to go out and visit them as much as I can, just to talk to them and learn their stories. But I really didn't think about the pressure of being first. So, thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, General. I had a military career, and I felt I got a lot out of it, particularly from the leadership side. The issues that I had in leadership that were most difficult for me were the disciplinary ones. How did you handle those?
Yeah, that really is hard, especially as a commander of the Army Guard of 7,400 soldiers. I had to make sure I was consistent with my discipline. Even with the commander before me, I wanted to make sure I was consistent with what he had done. So being consistent is really important, and making sure that when we have standards, that they uphold them. And I talked to the soldiers about that. My very first difficult decision was discharging a soldier who happened to test hot for cocaine. And there was a lot of letters of support, and there was even a letter of support from this individual. And besides just looking at the paperwork and discharging that individual, I wanted to do a face-to-face and talk to that person and hear their story, because this is a young soldier, and there's a lot of leaders between them and me. So I wanted to talk to them, and they had the guts to come forward and talk to a general officer and explain why they wanted to stay in, and the mistake that they made. And it's really hard, because I try to put myself in their shoes, but I'm also very consistent and uphold the standard. No, I actually let that person, I put them on a suspension of separation for a year. If they were clean and good for a year, then they can continue serving. Thank you.